On today's episode, we're sitting down with Right Worshipful Brother Scott Ryckman to discuss the annual communication of Grand Lodge.
You're listening to The First Three Knocks, a Masonic podcast in the District of York, where we discuss topics for the betterment of Masonry. The opinions discussed in this podcast are those of the individual and do not represent the views of Grand Lodge or any other Masonic body. Now, here are your hosts.
Right Worshipful Sir, welcome back.
Welcome back.
Well, thank you both for having me.
It's great to see you again. One of the episodes we covered in one of our first podcasts was the annual communication of Grand Lodge. And of course, we had some follow-ups that we wanted to clarify for some of our listeners. And who better to give us that information than Right Worshipful Brother Scott Ryckman himself?
Well, there might be lots of people that are better, but I'll answer as much as I possibly can.
So, Right Worshipful Sir, maybe you could share with us really the purpose of the annual communication.
Yeah, it really has a bunch of purposes. It's the time when all the committees and districts present their official reports on their successes and failures or challenges over the years. This is done on the Monday and the Tuesday at the Board of General Purposes meeting. It's also a time to renew friendships, make new friendships, to be able to have a chance to go and visit other districts in terms of their hospitality suites, etc. On Tuesday afternoon, your Grand Lodge has a series of seminars that I hope will be of interest to a lot of brethren. They are presented for the most part as 50-minute presentations that run concurrently, and I mean that they're not all, but three of them might be running at the same time.
Right.
So
right.
You
have to pick and choose.
You do.
Yeah.
You do. And all seminars, unless otherwise stated, and there are none that are stated this year, they're open to all Masons, including entered apprentices. So don't shy away. In fact, in some of them, it's really good to have their input. So this year we've got the Condition of Masonry, Friend to Friend, College of Freemasonry, Masonic Foundation, Youth Initiatives, Leadership and Development, and there are two strategic planning seminars, same seminar, but they're an hour and a half instead of 50 minutes. So they take up their whole slot.
Based on some of your experiences, having gone to this several times, could you maybe share with our listeners some of the recommendations you might have for attending if you were, say, a new Mason or somebody just learning about it?
Oh, absolutely. I've always had the biggest kick. I'm a little square maybe, but out of the seminars, because you're hearing it right from all this data that we send down to Grand Lodge and all the input that they get. They don't just sit on it; they work really hard, and here we have a chance to actually see the results of their labors. So I find that's hugely beneficial because you can take that back to your lodge and say, well, at Leadership and Development, we were talking about this. Can we implement something along this line, for example? I must admit I do enjoy Tuesday night, which is the very much the fraternal side of the annual communication, where most of the districts, or a lot of the districts, have hospitality suites, and you're welcome to go and join. And wherever you go in, you will be well received. Little change this year, in order to get into a hospitality suite, you got to have a dues card.
Must be paid up.
It does, indeed. And if the room is serving beer or wine or alcohol, you won't be served. If it appears to the smart server, with a smart service card, bartender, that you are maybe at or above your limit.
Got it.
That'll be important, huh, Gino?
Yeah, that's an important one.
So, but that shouldn't curtail. Come down and enjoy yourself and have a drink or two and just be cautioned. If you go really overboard, that could have some negative consequences to you personally and to your Masonic career.
Maybe you could tell us a little bit about some of the etiquette for attending this in terms of dress, what would be appropriate.
Sure. For everything, like all of the seminars and the fraternal visits and the Tuesday evening and stuff like that, business casual is perfect. You can never go wrong with that. If you're going to be attending Grand Lodge is business suit, not tuxes or tails. So it's business suit and regalia. And you need to bring your own regalia with you.
All right.
Now, they do have a certain limited supply of like EA aprons, because it's all in the first degree. So if you need to if you need to get in and you don't have an apron, then do it then.
Excellent.
Do you have to register for any of the seminars, or you just go and show up and it's first come, first serve to get in and participate?
You just show up.
Excellent.
But you want to show up in a manner like don't be late.
Yep.
The rooms are not large, and they hold maybe 100 and maybe 100 and a bit,
All right.
150, and they fill up really, really quickly.
Okay.
So
On time is late.
Yeah,
That's
I was going
right.
to say at least 15.
Absolutely.
Maybe even 20 minutes early, get a good seat, maybe right up close so you can pay attention and you're good to go.
you probably can't get in 20 minutes early because there'll be another seminar, and that's just
Oh, that's right.
the
You said that
1:30
they
one.
play right after another,
Yeah.
and there's 2 or 3 at the same time. So pick which one you want to go see.
That's right, and there's only a
Or
10-minute
listen
break as one is closing,
Okay.
and it gives you 10 minutes to get out of that room and go to the next room that you're interested in.
Got it.
How about some of the costs associated with attending? Obviously, there's got to be some cost.
There is, but not by members. If you're attending, the only cost that's associated with Grand Lodge is attending the Grand Master's reception. And there is a fee for that. And you have to book your seats, and you can get, for York District people, call me. I can arrange for some seats. I'll be looking to maybe arrange a table or two in the immediate future. But in terms of attending the seminars, voting at Grand Lodge, the registration, that's all free.
Brilliant. What a wealth of resources to take advantage of.
Absolutely.
How about some of the vendors? I mean, I think I've seen you there a couple of times making some purchases. Any hot spots worth hitting?
You know, the first place that I go is right to the book table. Grand Lodge has a table set up with all the current books, just to make sure that what I have is the most current version. And they always have a dozen or more other books that they're selling, and you just pick and choose. After you've been there long enough, you tend to get to the point that you've pretty much exhausted it. But they always have one or two at least new books for the on display.
We can get all kinds of pins, I imagine, all kinds of things to attach to the car, or anything and everything, right? I mean,
Swag.
I was told it's like the mecca of
Masonic swag
Masonic
fest.
swag, exactly.
It truly is, and it's not just one vendor. I mean, you have multiple vendors.
Excellent.
It's also the place that if you're looking for a new tuxedo, tuxedo shirts,
They're there too.
they're there too.
Excellent.
Ties, just aprons. It's just pretty much whatever you could think Masonically, you're going to be able to find it there.
All right. So now you mentioned the actual Grand Lodge, I guess the main meeting is on the Wednesday, is it?
Yes.
And for that, we need to wear business attire, bring our regalia, no tuxedos, no tails, bring your own regalia. You said that they have a limited supply of EAs because everything is done in the first degree. Can you tell us a little bit more about that Wednesday? Does it start? What time does it start? What are we to expect? What happens roughly on that particular day?
Yeah, I believe the start time is 8:45.
Okay.
I'd have to triple check that. But if they say 8:45, they don't mean 8:46.
Got it.
You can be guaranteed that the Grand Masters
Yep.
will be processing in right to almost to the second.
Okay.
They start coming in, along with all the current members of the board and visiting Grand Masters from other jurisdictions, as long as a bunch of our own past Grand Masters. Then they'll be followed by Right Worshipables and District Deputies, members of the board, current Very Worshipful officers, appointed officers for this year, and then following them are the worshipful masters
Of all the various lodges within all the various districts.
That's right.
Wow.
So,
And this is a perception that walks in, or?
it is, yeah.
Okay.
You process in.
Yeah.
And everybody else is there waiting while all this processing is done. But it's one of the benefits of being a worshipful master, and so many don't bother to go down and experience that, which is their right to be there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good thing. I think you were down for that, were you not, Bert?
Yeah, I wasn't master in that year, but certainly was down there. And I mean, all of it was fantastic. Even the Masonic swag, I got some great books, seminars, the fraternal visits was fantastic. I even enjoyed the voting. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about the voting.
Yeah, I was just about to ask, what happens? Do we vote for new folks coming in? Tell us a bit about that.
Voting is a really big part of Grand Lodge.
Okay.
And so, first of all, it's easiest to start at the lowest level. You have wardens and current masters are all entitled to one vote. If they're members of multiple lodges, they can only get one vote. And they're entitled to those votes as long as that lodge has paid its has delivered and paid its semi-annual return for July.
All right, so the lodges also have a responsibility to make sure proper paperwork is in order so that your wardens or masters don't get told, sorry, no vote here?
That's exactly right.
All right.
And we see that happen regularly.
Wow, okay.
Somebody's just a little bit late.
Yep.
Now, past masters of the lodge, who are not sitting as a warden or a master, their vote is guaranteed, regardless of whether the lodge is paid or not. So it doesn't cascade to everybody in the lodge, just to the current master and wardens.
All right.
And of course, in order to be a past Grand Lodge officer or a Grand Lodge officer, you've been a worshipful master, so you're automatically a past master. And the same rules apply for them too. As long as they're not sitting in a chair, they're guaranteed of their vote, one vote for each person. And but if they're in a chair, they're subject to the same rules as any other sitting officer.
So let me ask a question about voting real quick. I'm sitting right now as senior deacon. Do I get a vote?
You do not.
Oh. Well, who gets to vote?
I thought I just said that.
Oh, you did, sorry.
All right, no, wardens.
Wardens of the lodges.
It's wardens and masters.
Got it.
Okay?
Got it.
And past masters.
But I could still go and be there as a visitor and just watch?
You can, but you can't get into the voting room.
Got it. Okay.
Right? So it's not very thrilling standing outside just watching.
Interesting people watching, that's for sure. Huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Maybe we'll bring the podcast mics and get some talk points as
that's a great idea. We should set
folks
up there.
are walking out.
There's an interesting, really interesting thought there.
On the Grand Masters Banquet, what's that all about? Can you tell us a little bit about that special evening?
Sure. So it's not just the Grand Master. It'll be a bunch of past Grand Masters and all of the visiting Grand Masters coming in. And these annual communications are a big thing for every Grand Lodge, and so they tend to support each other. And you can expect to see maybe a dozen or more Grand Masters from other lodges. In fact, I believe that so it's a formal sit-down meal. Everybody's in business suit. Ladies are welcome if they're down for the event.
Okay.
And there's a speech. There'll probably be some minor entertainment, which could be anything from a soloist to a choir or to whatever the committee's decided to have that night. 9:30 it's done, and you're out of there.
Excellent. And it looks like this year the guest speaker is Right Worshipful Brother Alan Casalu, Grand Lodge of California Grand Secretary.
Wow.
Interesting.
So they really do come from all over. That's amazing.
Tickets are $70 each, cash or check made payable to the Grand Lodge of Canada. And as you had mentioned, Right Worshipful Sir, to reach out to you, is that the appropriate way for tickets?
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, I don't actually have tickets yet, but I will shortly, and I'll probably order, I'll get a feel for what we've done in the past, and I'll order maybe a table less. So if we had like 4 or 5 tables in the past, I don't know how much York is represented there, then we'll order 3 or 4.
Right.
Right, and just work to fill them up.
Excellent.
Because the sooner you get the order in, the better the table is that you've got.
Brilliant. Is there anything we haven't covered on the annual communication that you'd like to share with our listeners?
I don't think so. I think that pretty much covers it. Just try to get down.
Yeah.
It is a unique experience, especially for younger Masons, to come down and you just, even though there's only a small contingent percentage of Masons that actually get down, boy, it seems like an awful pile once you get them all into one hotel.
Yes. Yes, and this is going on at the Royal York Hotel, of course, which is fantastic.
It is.
And I'll put a plug in also real quick. Everything you've mentioned here today with us, and thank you again for coming and talking about the annual communication with Grand Lodge. We've posted everything on either the events or under the article of the app. So the summons is available, so you can see all the various workshops and whatnot, all the various days and evenings, all the different hospitality suites that are going to start to be built. It'll all be available there. So either you listened and heard on the podcast on how to go about that particular week, or plug that app down and take a look at it. We've also shared it on the Facebook as well, and we'll continue to do that all the way up until the actual week of, so that we can try to get as much attendance and newer Masons and older Masons to attend and see what it's all about. It'll be my first year, and I definitely don't have vacation this time, so I will be there, but I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to seeing you down there.
All right.
Well, we look forward to seeing you down at the Royal York, and thank you again for coming in and joining us and clarifying a few points for the brethren. We wish you well. You're in gear, it seems, already, and off to the next event. So thank you for stopping in, Right Worshipful Sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
Join us next time on the First 3 Knocks.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the First 3 Knocks. Happy to meet, sorry to part, happy to meet again.